Looks like my timing was off by just that much. Hi, good evening, and welcome to Momentous Live, episode 84. I'm Tristan Jutra.
I'm Tasia Custody.
I'm Gray Williams.
I'm William Silver.
Yes, you
And
are.
we are awesome. You can find out more about us at Momentous at momentous.tv/links to all our socials. Almost any social you could want, except for 6 Degrees, MySpace, Nexopia, and all the OGs, but that's fine.
Orkut.
Orkut, yes, huge in Brazil. All right, let's get to it. We're just dealing with technical gremlins, but we should have them ironed out by the end of the year. So we'll start with a little bit of follow-up. And you'll notice I'm back in the Black Void, home from the undisclosed location, which was always a fun experiment to do, and recovered from a weekend of craziness that Gray knows a little bit about. And yeah, let's get into a little bit of follow-up once I remember to actually share the screen. And then in the broadcast world, you call this vamping, where you just kind of fill space. Speaking of the broadcast world, I actually tuned into the Global Noon Hour News today, kind of by accident, and Colleen Christie and Squire Barnes were there, and she was just throwing to him for a sports story, but his mic was not working properly.
Oh no.
And live, it was crunchy, kind of like Gray's mic. And live, she undid her lapel mic and passed it over to him. And they had to vamp for a minute or so while he was getting it on there and stuff. And they're just like, oh, technical. But it's it was the strangest thing. I've never seen anything quite like that. It just kind of went on. It was a little bit awkward, but
I'm vamping, I'm cold vamping.
The beauties of live TV. Hey, real quick, let's do a quick tangent. Tasia and Gray, you've both done broadcasts, both live and pre-recorded. Tasia, which do you prefer?
I think live, actually.
Why?
Because you just have to go with it. So there's no overthinking anything. You're so in the moment. Mm-hmm. When I pre-record things, it's like your mind can wander and I feel like you almost screw up more because you're like, oh, I could do this again. It's fine. It doesn't matter. And you're thinking of the 10 other things you have to do. But when it's live, it's live. So whatever comes out of your mouth.
The other thing is you get into this thing where you're not too bad at the beginning, and then somebody will say, one more take, let's try that again. And then you start screwing up, and then you never get back to a good take again.
And your energy just goes, and you can see it all over the face.
See, I like live to tape, right? That sort of middle ground of, it's live, we're just talking to each other, and what happens, happens. But when I swear, they're able to block all of that out. And believe me, it happens more often than I care to admit.
Now, Will, you've done some live with us here and a couple other shows. Have you done much in the way of pre-recorded? I don't recall.
I mean, I've done a couple shows, but I've been behind the scenes.
Right, right. So but when the other podcasts that you've been on, like the soccer podcast, football. Was that live streamed or was that just recorded?
See, that's almost like Gray's middle ground, where some terrible shit is stuff. Sorry. Some terrible stuff is said, and we say things, but it's live on university radio at 1:00 in the morning, so nobody hears it, and by the time it goes to podcast, that's been edited out. So just like this, you'll edit this out.
Edited is a hard word to say.
Edited.
Say
I edited it.
Edited it. We used to say that.
Yeah, I edited it.
I edited it.
I'm with Tasia. I like the just pure live, because no take backsies. Just you got to trust yourself to not screw up too badly. And luckily, most people don't record things, but in the age of PVRs and stuff being archived online, things are there forever. So you just try really hard not to get yourself canceled. But yeah, live. I mean, it's less work than rehearsing, right? Just prepare intensely. But the more you rehearse, the more you get, like you said, you kind of get in your head, and then 100 takes later, boof. All right, let's hit our follow up. Success! NASA's DART redirects asteroid in watershed moment for humanity. So we've talked
We're
about
all
this.
here.
We're all, yes.
We're all alive.
So we've talked about this a couple of times. I don't even remember what DART stands for at this point. The double asteroid redirection test, and we reported that it seemed to work. It hit the smaller of the two, like the moonlet, I believe, and changed course. But we hadn't heard how much course it changed, if it would have been enough to actually make a big enough difference. And apparently, it did make enough of a difference. And Gray, do you have anything to add on that? Like, is this proof positive that we now have the ability to save the planet if we get to it in time?
We have the possibility of saving the planet. I mean, this is absolutely, eat animal crackers, play some Aerosmith. We did it moment. Here's the thing. Something around this size, we can now redirect. That's pretty awesome. Also, like, as munitions kind of come along, it may be possible to move bigger things out of our way. Is this, absolutely like the space defense platform that we can rest on? Obviously not. This was a really great billiard shot, and awesome, very very cool. We cannot stop here. We have to basically continue to develop these programs, because, yeah, like if a really big one were to come our way, we'd know well in advance. We'd have enough time probably to get off the planet if we had to. But yeah, it's pretty cool. One of the things that this does also open up the opportunity or the possibility of is using things like this to knock things in our existing orbit actually closer to us, which sounds insane. But when you think of things like Venus, where the surface temperature is melting lead, or Mars, where there isn't much visible ice or water, or the moon for that matter. If we were able to take, an asteroid, something that's out in the Kuiper Belt, and knock it in closer to us, and then be able to drop those into the atmosphere of those planets, you could cool Venus off. You could put water on Mars. So it could actually be one of the ways for us to terraform something in an awful hurry. And if we miss and hit ourselves, well, it would just be awful.
One of the images we saw a week or two ago in looking at the first bit of aftermath from this proof of concept was some Earth level telescope imagery of the debris. And my question to you is this: could this actually cause more problems in the like we saw in Deep Impact, where sure they managed, or was it Deep Impact where they managed to, they were actually trying to, I think, destroy the asteroid in that point as opposed to merely redirect it. But one of the side effects with this extra debris, instead of having one or two big objects, now you've got a whole bunch raining down on us. Do you think they're going to be small enough to be like mostly burn up in the atmosphere? Like, what's the calculus on that side of things?
So that's really what it comes down to. And here's the thing: the smaller sized targets are actually probably more dangerous for us, because you do run the risk of essentially damaging it but not obliterating it. And that's a challenge, which is why we're looking to knock this off course. There is sort of a window wherein trying to divert it could result in not diverting it and destroying it. But the math there actually is more in favor of us actually diverting it. Because the size of the projectile that we would send its way, the amount of energy that we would send its way, typically wouldn't be enough to destroy something like that. What might happen is not knowing the composition of the thing that we're trying to hit, and then finding that perhaps underneath it's not as structurally sound as we thought it was. That could cause something to break open, which could lead to a lot of smaller pieces. If something like that were to happen, though, you would end up with small enough debris that it would break up. Again, this is all conjecture, but is it possible we can make things worse? Yeah. Is it a high possibility? We're dealing with the hedge bets on an already gambling hand here, so I don't think it's going to happen in our lifetime. I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Will, you worried?
I used to worry about this kind of stuff a ton when I was a kid, and now I just don't worry about it, and I'm much happier. I have a worrying
There we
problem,
go.
so yeah. I let smart people deal with it. What am I going to do? Why am I worrying? There's nothing I can do to affect it.
Perfect.
And if
So
only I had a word about that. Gotta save the world.
Yeah.
Said no
it's
one
a
ever.
little bit like you got to trust in science. So I trust in science, and I know there's a ton of smart people in NASA and people like Gray studying these things, and yeah, just got to hope that there's enough smart people out there doing the right things.
I wouldn't trust
Well,
me
it's
right
great
now. I
to-
can't even get a microphone stand to work, so
Well,
But
it's great
it's not
to
in
see.
space.
Yeah.
I should have bought the Canadarm.
Well, it's great to see these kinds of proofs of concept actually being executed and successful, at least by these early metrics. A little next quick bit of follow up. A week or two ago, we talked about the impending Windows 10 2022 update. Just wanted to let all y'all know that it is available for those of you fortunate to be running Windows as your daily driver. Gray, I think you're the only one of us here running a Windows machine regularly as your gaming rig. Have you done the 2022 update yet? And regardless, would you recommend people get on this or give it a beat or two?
Would you believe? Would you believe I put the trusted platform module into my PC? Remember I had this in before, but then the power supply kind of melted. And I was
TPM,
wondering,
yeah.
like, yeah, so I ended up putting that in, and I have updated to Windows 11.
What?
Oh, so you're not even
Yeah.
doing 10. You're gone right to 11. Okay.
Yeah, the start menu
Turn
is
it
kind
to
of
11.
like
Yeah.
sort of cockeyed in the middle, or the, like a third in. I have no idea what they've done with this. The weather's now in the bottom left-hand corner. Would I recommend you get it? Sure. How could it be worse?
Well, I mean, Windows 10 is pretty mature at this point, so hopefully this update was, been through the testing ringer a few times.
Can I
and
say I love the image that's on this article. Just like this guy's like
he's,
updates here.
Hey now.
he's
Check it
chill.
out. Yeah,
He's chill.
it's great.
Yeah.
Like it's just he's like people in the know. Update
That's right.
to 2022.
Yeah,
I like
he
it.
knows where he knows where it's at.
He's got confidence in his updates, and I like that.
Yeah. Calm, cool, and collected. All right, forgive us, gang. We've got a pretty gray, heavy front end of the show here, but we'll make it up to you
It's
later.
all good.
Next up, we have the Meta Quest Pro was announced last week. It was actually the day of our last show, but we didn't quite get to it. And there was Facebook had their event where they're launching the Meta Quest Pro, which I believe is $1,500 US as compared to the Meta Quest 2, which is about $399 US, something like that.
I think they bumped the price up. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They had increased the price, and lots of new features, but very targeted toward developers and possibly commercial applications. Really kind of bifurcating the product line to give people a bit more opportunity to still try it on the low end, but really encouraging developers on the high end to give it a go. With the problem being, if you develop for the high end, it's going to take a while for the lower end unit to catch up capability wise. So hopefully this doesn't backfire on them. So there's a couple of other related stories here, and then I'll throw it over to you, Gray, for your thoughts. There was a lot of hullabaloo about the avatars in Horizon Worlds getting legs, because as in most VR environments where people have avatars, they don't have legs unless you've got like the downward cameras and or sensors to try guess where your legs are. And then in this demo that Mark Zuckerberg did, it's like, oh yeah, see, we got legs now. Rejoice, everyone. But then upon reflection and further analysis, it turns out that the leg demo was actually fudged a little bit, and it's going to be a little while till legs actually happen. Now, Greg, as Momentous official metaverse correspondent and current MetaQuest 2 user, what were your thoughts from the announcement? And is this, have you got a leg up on this situation yet?
I still find the avatars to be just like, it reminds me of Kenneth Branagh from Wild Wild West. You remember that dude was like cut off at the waist,
Overacting?
and it was just a weird, like, and the way that they kind of composited him into that chair looked like this, where he just sort of ended, and it was sort of a that's not what a demicorporectomy looks like, and this is really, really strange. The MetaQuest Pro, awesome piece of hardware. That price though, it's like it's like they kind of want to just humor Mark. And what we're hearing now is that the whole Meta project has been referred to as the MMH program, which is Make Mark Happy. A lot of the employees really are just. It feels a lot like how the news cycle sort of ran in the Trump administration. What's probably happening in Russia right now, where you have somebody who has like total control, and maybe is a little unhinged. It's great hardware. It's aimed at a business audience where they have like this small sample of companies that they have people who are collaborating in real time in the metaverse. And it's like, do you think everyone's just waiting for better quality hardware at the price of like a high-end iPhone or a mid-range MacBook Pro so that they can get a bunch of their employees? Like, who's this for? And so I'm looking at it going, it's awesome and cool, and with a mixed reality, it's really, really great.
I've heard that the inward-facing cameras, which do your eye tracking, actually really improves the conversational experience in Horizon Worlds or around the board table or what have you, and capturing a bit more of those of the humanity of the person behind the avatar. And as you mentioned, it's the hardware is more powerful. It's got twice the RAM. It's got 12 gigs instead of 6 gigs. They're only going with the 256. Yeah, a newer processor. 256 gig is the main the single storage tier, as opposed to having 128 and 256 gigs. So yeah, and it seems like that, especially with the price hike of the Meta Quest 2, Facebook is not interested in losing money on the hardware anymore. They're playing the long game here. They're going to charge what it, at least break even, maybe make a bit of profit, and not rush this whole thing. It's because it's going to be a couple more generations before it actually starts perhaps going mainstream. The danger, of course, being that others such as Apple, who, there's more leaks were coming out today about what Apple might be doing in this space, and that it's got more cameras than what Meta's doing, but Apple's device sounds like it could be $2,000 or $3,000 US. So it's still very early in this space, despite what we've seen with Magic Leap and Oculus's and now Meta's efforts to date. So it seems like Zuckerberg's playing the long game here, and they've got, as long as he's got controlling shares in his company, so it doesn't matter if they spend they spent $10 billion so far. They can just he can spend whatever he wants, so they can't kick him out.
It's true. The thing that I found most interesting was the partnership with Microsoft. Because it's very clear here that the workspace is important to them. And the question that kind of came up to me is, with Teams and with Office 365 and now Microsoft 365, Microsoft really seems to be in on the software as a service idea. And they've managed to claw back a little bit of what Zoom had eaten out of them, and they're kind of again finding this weird jostly space, and it reminds me actually a little bit of Microsoft investing in Apple way back in 1997. The Teams team has been working on the software, and it's actually gotten to the point where it's tolerable and actually almost enjoyable to use on Mac. Now that it's on the M1 processor, the Intel version was just, and probably still is, a dog's breakfast. I wouldn't be able to tell you. But seeing that collaboration and seeing that shift over into Horizon Workspace, interesting. The thing that stood out to me the entire time, though, is you were talking about like eye tracking and having this more realistic conversation. And Google's got this really delightful piece of technology. I can't remember the name of it, but it was that sort of that booth. That would you were able to have that conversation with other people with, and that to me is so much more compelling than what they are doing here with this. That as an augmented reality piece, if we could make that work, perhaps might be, but
Yeah, and I guess it gets to be a question of accessibility for in order to install that sort of booth and the like, as opposed to individual users eventually being able to have an affordable device to strap on their own faces. Tasia, as someone who is pretty tuned into what Google's been doing there, and with that accessibility issue in mind, what would it take to get you wearing a VR and or AR or mixed reality headset out, like what we're seeing from Meta here? Could you see yourself being in either socializing with people in, say, Horizon Worlds or having business meetings in Horizon Workspace, as Gray mentions, or is this just a bridge too far for you?
I think the novelty would wear off pretty quick for me.
What,
It'd
like
be
right
fun.
when the nausea kicks in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it would be like a more of like a fun hobby-ish thing for me. It wouldn't be something where I'm working in that space or doing a lot of daily tasks in that space.
I did show
It'd be
Beat
more
Saber to
like,
some friends a weekend
yeah.
ago, 2 weekends ago, pardon me, and they went absolutely nuts for it. They loved it. Um, that said, I don't think they're going to be taking a meeting in Teams anytime soon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that Microsoft angle is interesting, and Teams is really uh, on the warpath because they've got the huge Office 365 install base there, so it's supplanting other software like Slack and the like, and throwing their weight behind this. Could give Mark a bit of the boost, bit of support there, and we'll see where it goes. But it's a little while before I'm going to be strapping one of these on my face. It's got to be, because the other with the Pro too, it's heavier. It's like over 700 grams. Like they're going the other direction. But again, that speaks to, it's the kind of commercial / developer case as opposed to the everyday case. And I think John Karnak from id Software originally, who's been working with Meta for quite a while and is a sanctioned vocal proponent and critic of what they're doing. It's kind of interesting. They're kind of letting him criticize this publicly. And he, at the Facebook event, had some words to say. And in his mind, he wants to get it to 250 grams and $250. So that's, then the magic might happen, right? It's like a lot less of cumbersome to wear, a lot more affordable. And then, Ready Player One, here we come. All right, moving on. Everyone seems super stoked about that potential reality.
Dystopia, yes.
Well, then we can do like the full pods where we can like just kind of exist in like 18 hours a day while we consume Slurm or whatever.
As long as it works out for me, I'd be happy.
Say again, sorry?
As long as it works out for me, I'd be happy. Remember, like in the book, they didn't show it so much in the movie, but in the book, he was a little bit on the heavier side, put this suit on, and then over the course of like 6 months, it worked him out every day. And I'm like,
there you go.
If I could play Super Mario Brothers in my head and have something else work the muscles for me.
Yeah. It's like a really, really overpriced and overly sophisticated, over-engineered Dr. Hose.
Pretty much, yeah.
I was going to say Peloton, but okay.
Shake weight bodysuit? Anyway.
Shake weight.
In other quick tidbit hit of Meta news. I think last year we reported how Meta was going to be buying Giphy, the fun little animated GIF or GIF, if you prefer, site that you could include in your reactions, in your text messages, or in Facebook Messenger and other places. But thanks to UK lawmakers, that's all going to be rolled back, and Meta's actually like, okay, we're not gonna contest it anymore, and we're gonna give it a go. We're gonna abide. So actually, it was in May 2020. So actually, it's before Momentous Live. Estimated $400 million. So now Meta's got to sell Giphy. It's kind of because it had all been done, and just like the court of one government has decided, it's a little too anti-competitive, a little too antitrust for our liking. And it's funny, it didn't even happen in the States. So. Maybe they didn't want it that much anyway. Maybe they realized, hey, wait a sec, we don't actually have a business model for this. So unless they could figure out a way to make GIFs happen in the metaverse, but it doesn't seem to be in the cards. All right, to our main story this week. Apple made some quiet announcements today via press release. No event or anything. They announced basically 3 main products, a revamped iPad, like entry-level-ish iPads. We'll explain that in a moment. M2 iPad Pro and an updated Apple TV 4K. So starting with the entry-level iPad, they've given it a bigger screen. They've given it the styling of the iPad Pro and the iPad Air. They've given it the USB-C interface, so no more Lightning connector. And they've ditched the home button. So they all look pretty much the same now, and the iPad Mini has the same styling as well. we're going to get into some issues about some of the accessories and whatnot. But one of the main things here, in addition to some of the updates they've done, including updating the cellular modem to support 5G and introducing Wi-Fi 6, not Wi-Fi 6E, which has been introduced in the M2 iPad Pros, but they've updated the processor and whatnot. They've moved the Touch ID to the power button. But one of the main things is the price. The starting price is $449 US for the 64 gig model, whereas the starting price from the old one with the home button is only $329. So it really pushes that entry level up. Now, I think kind of acknowledging this, Apple has kept the old 9th generation entry level iPad kicking around still, perhaps for education or others who just can't abide an extra $120 US just to get in the door, especially if it's for a child. Tasia, any initial thoughts and reactions on this iPad, which comes in a variety of lovely colors, I must say?
I mean, the colors remind me of Easter time.
Oh, wrong time of year. Where's Johnny Ive when we need him?
I know.
He's off chimper.
Other than that, I feel like it was just a little soft announcement for a reason. It's like, here you go. Here's another offering.
Yeah, little press release update.
Yeah.
Fair enough. The iPad Pro 2 has as mentioned, has the M2 chip and Wi-Fi 6E. Oh, one of the other things about the entry-level iPad is that it unlike the previous generation, the 9th generation, it now supports Apple Pencil, but only Apple Pencil version 1, not version 2. Again, we're going to revisit that in just a moment. Wait for it. So really quickly on the M2 iPad Pro, it's starting at $799 for the 11-inch, $1099. Again, these are US dollars for the 12.9-inch model. So it shares a lot of the same features of the iPad Pro, but it gains a new hover feature for the Apple Pencil. So different types of interactions when slightly above the screen. It's a few millimeters above the screen now. So you get a preview of an interaction before you actually do it. For example, if you want to make a mark or draw something, it'll show you where it's going to go. It's almost like a targeting system. Wi-Fi 6E now, Bluetooth 5.3, added support for additional 5G networks around the world. Storage still goes from 128 gigabytes up to 2 terabytes. And again, if someone's shopping for an iPad Pro and wants the maximum longevity out of it, look at the RAM. Apple never talks about the RAM, but the first 3 tiers, the 128, 256, and 512 gig configurations have 8 gigabytes of RAM, which sounds like a lot today, but in 5 years from now, with different apps and whatnot coming out that always are designed for the latest hardware, the more RAM, the better. So if you don't mind spending the extra coin, if you get it up to the 1 terabyte model, it and the 2 terabyte models come with 16 gigabytes of RAM, which will serve you very well for a long time to come. That's one of the biggest weaknesses of the iPhones and the iPads is that even though in most other ways they seem to function very well for years and years and years, especially if you swap a battery out, but with constrained RAM and the inability to upgrade, as with most mobile devices, you get to the point where the way iOS works is it never pages the RAM to disk or the flash storage. So your apps will close on you. If you're doing a couple things going back and forth, you go back to your web browser, and it's refreshed the page, and maybe the form you're filling, you've lost all the contents of it, or the state of your game is lost, or anything you did, and that can get really annoying over time. And then just other general slowdowns, which are a result of having constrained RAM. So just a little buyer's guide tip there. Now, Will, I think you got the M1 iPad Pro, and in the spring when the iPad Air was announced, also featuring the M1 processor, I asked the three of you if you because all three of you got the iPad Pros, right? Correct? Or no? Oh, Tasia, you didn't. No, but Gray, you.
No, I never got the new one.
Yeah, so Gray, you and Will did, and I asked the two of you if you felt overserved by the M1 iPad Pro, given that now it had been introduced to the iPad Air. Now, on the flip side of it, seeing what is being offered in this, which seems like kind of like an incremental update to the M2 processor with this latest iPad Pro after about a year and a half now, do you feel like you're missing out on anything, or is your existing M1 iPad Pro going to serve you for for the foreseeable future will.
I think it's like this with computers. I think we all know that you buy it when you can, you buy it when you need it, you spend as much money as you feel comfortable doing to get the best specs you can, and there'll be another one coming right behind it. So I've had this for a year. I'm happy with my iPad, and I'll buy another one in a couple of years, and it will be even better than the one that we're looking at now. So I just think you get in when you need to, and that's just my approach. I mean, like, yeah, sometimes there's things that I buy when I don't need them, but for the most part, I stop. The other thing I do is I stop looking at stats, except now we're doing this live stream, so I do look at stats. But until I'm really looking, I try not to pay too much attention to things like computers or cars.
Fair enough. Not so many speeds and feeds in your life. Just what solves the problem for you at the time.
Yeah.
Now, Gray, I saw your visible discomfort when I alluded to some of the accessory challenges here. One of the things at the surface is the fact, again, that the new entry-level iPad only supports the first generation Apple Pencil, despite the fact it has the squared off sides like the iPad Mini, the iPad Air, and the iPads Pro. So you can't use, for some reason, the second generation Apple Pencil and have it stick to the side with the magnets and have it charge up nicely. You still have to stick it in the bum of the iPad, just like the old generation one. But now, since it's USB-C and it's not Lightning, you now need a $9 US adapter for it. But that's not so. And here it is. Here's this little thing. So it's a female to female adapter. So you actually have to use the cable too. But that's not where it ends. There's also updates to the Apple Folio keyboard to accommodate the new style of entry-level iPad. But they've provided an extra row of keys, function keys on there, which aren't available on the Smart Folio or Magic Keyboard for the iPad Air and iPad Pro. So it's actually kind of more featured, but you can't mix and match, even though it looks the same. The dimensions are slightly off. So in a world where Steve Jobs had set Apple right with simplifying the product line into a simple 2x2 matrix, Apple under Tim Cook has exploded the product line into a confusing array of sizes and configurations. Gray, have we truly entered the mouth of padness?
No, the mouth of padness.
That was worth it.
Yeah,
What the hell
payoff.
is this? What the hell is this? So I own one of these ridiculous adapters for one of these ridiculous things, and it sticks right in the bottom there, and that's great, isn't it? But you could actually, if you really wanted to, take perhaps one of these and stick that into there, and maybe then this thing could probably go into that if it really needed to. Why are they doing this? Why does the Apple Pencil one still exist? This thing, nib is broken on this one, it's a dinosaur, right? It's missing the pieces that make the Apple Pencil an elegant piece of hardware. This sucked right off the bat. It was a necessity if you wanted to do some of the cooler things, but it's always sucked.
It was a
And
first
now with
stab in a
compliance-
world where we didn't have flat edges, and then they fixed that, and you had to
and it's-
poke it. Yeah.
But I mean, I'm no stranger to the Apple connectors that connect into other things, that connect into other things. That you
The
make the thing
dongleverse.
work.
The dongle
It's
version.
just, and I've got them sitting here in a drawer that was within arm's reach, which kills me because this stuff is plastic and it's never going away. I am so disappointed by today's announcements overall. Everything today pissed me off. Everything. The price of the new iPad is too high. The fact that it uses this is ridiculous. The fact that this has an adapter to plug into the bottom as opposed to, clip it on the side is ridiculous. The fact that this iPad has the camera in vertical and has the function key row, but the Pro iPad has it in portrait and doesn't have that.
What is happening?
This is the least pleased I've been with Apple in a very long time. And you know what? It's easy to say, fine, doesn't affect me because I bought the things prior to this knowing full well what I was getting, but thinking that when they got to this point, maybe there might be a reason for me to upgrade. There's no reason for me to upgrade to the M2 right now. The M1 is fantastic. That thing's a beast. Battery life is amazing. Processing is amazing. Why did I... Who's this for? The people that missed the M1? Are there folks out there that did that? I don't know. And are they looking at this going, wow, that's a really great buy. I'll get in now before they fix the camera and add the function keys.
There's some definitely strange choices there, and one could almost excuse the first gen Apple Pencil support, and he's gone.
Peace out.
Had to put that away because it was starting to take me off a little bit.
Yeah, you could almost excuse some of the decisions if it was below the $400 mark and so on. But then there's those confounding issues like some superior features to what we've seen in the Pro. Given that there was new Pros announced just today, it is a little mind-boggling. It's almost like there's separate teams working and not talking. And I get market segmentation. You want things for different strata of buyers. So, and one of the side issues here is that some people feel that this latest generation of iPad, which generally the entry-level iPad is normally super great for education. At $329 US, it's accessible for school boards and for certain families, especially compared to a lot of other tech products nowadays. And that's still available, but that's old. That's a couple year-old hardware now, and sure, they keep it around for a little bit, kind of like they kept the Apple Watch 3 around a little too long. So there's some issues here with the the little quirks regarding the Apple Pencil and definitely the pricing. Now I want to throw to you, Tasia. You do not have the M1 iPad Pro. I just picked up the M1 iPad Air in the spring. But you have an iPad, correct?
Oh yeah, it's
which one?
Really old.
Yeah.
God, I can't even tell you. I think I got it in like 2017.
Got an old 2018 Pro hanging around here if somebody wants it.
I might have that one, to be honest.
Yeah.
I can't remember the date. I mean, it's been a while. I use it very, for just certain little things. Like I do occasional work on it when I'm traveling, but it's nothing like I need anything super robust. So it's more than what I need.
And so what I want to know from a user like you that is, maybe due for an upgrade, rocking a 5-year-old iPad. And like I was using an iPad Air 2 from 2015 until last year when I inherited my wife Stephanie's iPad Mini. But then it had a sweet little keyboard that I got for it, a clam case keyboard. And then I left it at a shopping center and was not able to recover it despite find my device being on, but it wasn't precise enough. And that's a whole other saga. But so Tasia, like, someone like you would conceivably be in the market for a new iPad at some point, 5 years, maybe next year, something. What sort of features would you be looking for to encourage you to upgrade? Would you be perfectly fine with, the 9th generation iPad with the old style and the home button and the no Apple Pencil support and old, old radios and lower storage, et cetera, lower RAM? Would the new entry level at the higher price point be interesting to you? Would that be good enough for you, or would you be looking to jump up to the Air or even the Pro? Where do you envision yourself, like in your next iPad upgrade?
It would be a Pro model, but it's probably a couple years out.
Okay, so you'll make a big jump. As you all
know, I'm quite cheap, so I don't need to spend the money on any of this right now.
Right. But the colors,
but I know the Easter colors are quite cute, but I mean the yellow's a bit anyway. But like, I don't need it. So you guys know I'm trying to like be better about being the keyword, be better about like wanting and needing.
Yeah.
I don't need it.
Be honest, you're just holding out for Google to send you the Pixel tablet when it finally comes out next spring, right?
Oh my God, do you think they will?
play your cards right with your Pixel 7 Pro review, and they just
right?
We're all about fair and balanced product reviews here. Now, why the Pro though? Like, I mean, that seems like a big jump. Is it for the longevity, or are there some other reasons at play?
It would be A, longevity, and B, because of kind of where I think like my work will be going type thing. So if I'm doing a lot more work on the road and stuff like that, like it's just hard for me to say right now because
Yep.
when like with my original iPad that I have now, it was great and I was traveling a lot with it. And then the world stopped for a while. So like we're traveling again a bit now, but it's not like I was like intensive for work. So I think it's starting to pick up again. I think once that picks up again a bit more and I need something that's a bit faster, I can get an Apple Pencil with it because like obviously mine is not compatible with that technology. Stuff like that in terms of like a work purpose makes sense. But for anybody that's needs an iPad and they don't need it for work, I would never tell somebody to get a Pro, ever. It's way too much. You don't need it.
Yeah.
You don't need it. Like when I look at how I use mine right now, when I'm not traveling, it's in the little room I work out in and I play my YouTube video workouts on it. It's what I do. And I use the keyboard to send iMessages and I check my emails. That's what it's used for. So it's just like when you think of that base level, like how people will be using it, I would say if you're not doing something like work related, it's not a pro model situation.
Gotcha.
It's just not.
I find
Save the money, people.
Yeah, well, especially when you look at the higher storage tiers, as we were alluding to, the 1 and 2 terabyte, you're getting up into MacBook Air price territory, if not higher, right? So
big
it's like,
time.
yeah, you really have to be able to justify it. I've been really happy with the iPad Air that I picked up. The only storage tier available, I believe, was 256 gigs, which is not tons, but I'm using it for personal casual use and some light work. I'm not doing like media editing or production or anything like that on there. It's like emails, web stuff, various apps for research and social media and stuff like that. So it's the Air is going to probably serve me quite well for a number of years. I mean, I wanted a Pro, but it's just really hard to justify because, of course, if I got a Pro, I would want like the maximum storage because I'm bad with money. So I look forward to the day when you can report to us which iPad you've finally decided on in a couple of years, or if you've fully switched to Team Pixel Tablet by that point. A couple other things that Apple announced today. Updates to the Apple TV line. Now, there is no Apple TV HD. It is gone. That was the one that only supported 1080p, and it has been retired. It was $149 US, which brings it's being replaced by the new Apple TV 4K for $20 less, only $129. But there's a catch, and what is the catch? You ask. Is that on the new Apple TV 4K entry level one, they got rid of the Ethernet jack. There's a Wi-Fi only model. And there are a couple of other little differences in there. I think they've got the same processor, and I don't remember. I think it may have had to do with the remote. Because there's a USB on the remote, but I'm not sure if the remote for the lower the USB-C on the high level remote. I'm not sure if they stuck with. They couldn't have stuck.
The top end model has Thread.
Thread, that's what it is. So Thread radio for the new Matter Alliance and all that, all your home networking, home hub stuff. So if you're not doing smart home stuff, you can get away with the new Apple TV 4K entry level model. As if you don't need internet, Ethernet, I prefer having wired connections for things like media streaming myself. But lots of folks don't want to have wires all over the house or don't have wiring in their walls. We only have that because we had to replace all the electrical wiring in our home when we bought it 16 and a half years ago. So we threw Cat 5e cable everywhere, which should have done Cat 6, but it's good. So everywhere we've got an Apple TV, we've got Ethernet connected to it. But for most folks, Wi-Fi is just fine as long as you've got a good, robust Wi-Fi signal. Hopefully you're pretty close to a router or one of your mesh networking nodes for that. So the Entry-level one, as mentioned, with Wi-Fi only is $129 US, and then the one with the Ethernet jack is $149. 64 gigs in the base model, 128 gigs of storage in the higher-end model. And a lot of people even wonder why you need that much storage, but if you're loading up a lot of apps on there, it could come in handy. I like storage because bad with money. They both feature the slightly updated Siri remote, which underwent a huge revision several months ago, and the slight update is moving from Lightning connector to USB-C for charging. So Apple is slowly but surely moving everything over to USB-C. Again, very slowly, because the iPhone is the big one still to come, and thanks to the EU, that's eventually going to happen. But as we mentioned, the entry-level iPad is now USB-C as well. So in a couple of years, we'll finally be at a place where we can use the same adapters and chargers for almost all of our Apple devices. They still have to switch over the AirPods and a few other things.
You notice all of these launches came very shortly after the EU handed down their ruling on USB-C, and all of them are available within the next couple of weeks. Chances are there are a lot of these things that were sitting on the factory line with modules ready to go. Because Tim Cook's not going to want to throw away all of those Lightning modules, which had probably been manufactured, or they were probably slowing them down. But it seems like this was probably a make or break. The question is, why the hell do they still have the Apple Pencil 1? This is actually, so it's $179 Canadian, $199 Canadian for the Wi-Fi and the Wi-Fi and Ethernet.
No brainer.
Apple Care is only $29. Interestingly enough, this weekend, we had our Apple TV stop working pretty much entirely. Wouldn't respond to remotes, would power up, but wouldn't respond to anything else. I had to go through like a whole bunch of hoop jumping to get them to respond, and they're now actually working again after completely resetting it and going to iOS 16. Never any beta software or anything like that, but it was just a weird, like, I was actually going to go out and buy another one. And I said, let's just hang on because this might be coming. The extra $20 for double the storage and thread. Actually, I said I was pissed off by everything this week. This is the thing that doesn't have me upset. This is less expensive. It's a better quality product. And the $20 difference between and awesome, I can stomach.
That's a no-brainer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. In other news, Will and Tasia, neither of you are. Oh, Will, you've got an Apple TV. Tasia, you do not, correct? All right.
Now's the time.
I don't have an Apple TV.
Oh, I thought you did, Will. No, you do stuff through PS4, right?
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Now's the time. No brainer. But again, October, Apple often releases some things that may be appropriate for holiday shopping. All right. So, the iPads, AirPods Pro 2.
It's me.
You got your emoji on there, or Memoji. Nice. Very nice. Okay. Oh, I actually, speaking of weird little Apple touches like that, I just realized yesterday, and I showed it off to my father-in-law because he gets a kick out of these kind of Apple things. Is my I got the iPhone 14 Pro, which I'm loving, it was my pick of the week a little while ago, but when I put it into its brown leather MagSafe case, I'm not going to be able to recreate it here because Murphy's Law. The little MagSafe symbol comes up, but the color matches the case. The symbol appears in brown. It's like, what stupid little details like that Apple pays attention to, and they still can't get the Apple Pencil situation figured out. Anyways. They're busy color coding their MagSafe logos on the devices, but it's here. You know what? Because I mentioned I'm going to try and do it live. This is very risky. It makes for a terrible live stream.
Just a little bit of patter going on here. I had my iPhone 14 plugged into an Anchor power adapter today and watched as my Apple authorized cable caught fire.
What?
I've got it in the other room. You do that. I'm going to go do this. You guys talk amongst yourselves.
Oh my God.
Yikes.
OMG.
So I'm plugging this in. Let's see if it comes up. And it's not going to. No. See, that's why you don't. That's the problem with live. You try to do something and it just doesn't work. Maybe because it's unlocked.
We believe you.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. So,
this is the Anchor USB-C 32-watt adapter.
Yeah.
And this is what I watched happen in real time.
Oh my.
It caught fire. There was smoke as I was holding it in my hand. If I had put this down and walked away.
So is the Anchor like over delivering power? Like is the cable just not rated for the amperage or something? Like what's going on there?
This is an Apple USB-C cable that came in the box,
Right.
right?
But a non-Apple charger though.
An Apple adapter, which I've used for many other things.
Yeah.
And this doesn't smell.
It could just be a faulty cable, right? Like if there's a short in or something. Yeah.
Which is insane. Which I'm going to walk into Apple tomorrow and be like, so you owe me at least a cable and maybe an apology? I know it's not your fault.
It's like,
can I get a discount on Apple TV?
We never apologize.
I'm going to go to Metrotown. Bring me Samsung. Still get his card.
Exactly. All right. Very quickly, there's Netflix had their quarterly earnings call this week with analysts, and they announced a whole bunch of stuff. Very quickly, on the financial side, we don't usually talk about finances, but Netflix has been struggling for a little while, losing subscribers. About 6 months ago, we talked about that a little bit, but things seem to have been turning around a bit. They gained 2.41 million paying subscribers in the last quarter, and earnings are up, blah, 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 boring business stuff. They also announced the much talked about ad tier available for $7 per month as opposed to $10 per month. Again, these are US prices. So if you can stomach some ads, you can save $3 per month. Then they also mentioned that changes were coming to those folks out there who are sharing passwords and, as a family, etc. And, they've been turning a blind eye to that for years and years to increase engagement, especially when they're in hyper growth mode. But as businesses mature and things are slowing down, they got to look for other places for revenue. One of those places is maybe it's time to monetize those freeloaders after all. So they talked about what it's going to cost for those people who want to continue piggybacking on someone else's account, because they can track IP addresses and whatnot, where people are, because it's the family sharing is intended to be for single households. You can still have a sub account, but the guess is it's going to be $3 to $3.50 US per month, as opposed to say the $7 for the ad supported tier or the $10 entry level for the main tier. One other thing about that ad supported tier, just to go back a second, is that it's 720p only, so no 1080p full high definition or 4K. 4K stream service costs even more than the $10 US. I think it's probably what, 12 or 13. In Canada, I think it's pushing like $16 or $17.
Yeah, I think we're
the other
29, actually.
Oh geez, even higher.
Yeah, that's what I'm paying.
Other sources for Netflix revenue, games. They've been experimenting with games so far that you can access right on the Netflix interface. If you're on an iOS device, you have to download the app separately because of Apple's App Store policies. But apparently Netflix has 55 more games in development, even though they've already got 35 mobile games out there. So that is really doubling down. And apparently they're seriously exploring a cloud gaming service, which, given that Google Stadia is shutting down, does it make sense for non-gaming experts really to be wading into the space? But one could argue that Netflix are streaming experts. So Tasia, as a longtime Netflix subscriber, which of these stories jumps out to you? Anything you want to comment on?
Just want to tell you guys right now, between the whole ad tier and them releasing certain shows like weekly, what are you, TV? Like, this is so archaic.
Well played.
What the hell is happening? No,
you either die a hero or live long enough to become the villain.
You used to be cool, Netflix. What happened to you?
What is happening?
From the darkness comes an unlikely hero. Blockbuster is back.
Yeah. It's basically like, do you want to pay $7 for one TV station? That's basically what they're saying. No, I don't. I don't.
But that's why I mean, that's a pretty robust TV station when you look at all the stuff that they've been pumping into it. It's just a question if it's to your taste. I, for one, do everything I can to avoid advertising, even though I have not yet. I've not yet followed Gray into the YouTube Premium space because it seems like a heavy lift.
I've got space in my account. I can let you have a slot.
I don't. Homie, don't play that.
We could say we live in the same house. It wouldn't be weird. It'd be weird.
Sure. How about you, Will? You're a Netflix subscriber. Which of these things, kind of speak to you? Or
can I
do you
just tell you, we're always on the edge of canceling. We're always so close, and they drag us back in with you know, some
Stranger
show,
Things.
yeah, like the Crown or something like that as a new season.
Oh, yeah.
So
Literally Godfather 3. Just when I thought I was out.
yes, pull me back in. I don't like the tier thing. I mean, I get where they're coming from. This is the other thing. Like, it's been a great value for so long that it's hard when you dial it back. It's almost sort of like you give people things, it's hard to take it away. So I don't think the audience is going to love this, obviously, and it'll be interesting to see what happens to the next Netflix, because I think they sold people a dream, and now they're saying like, hey, no, we can't afford to give you such good value anymore.
I just don't get who it's for. Who's
people.
the market they are targeting?
People
Because I
for
can tell
whom
you right
$3 a
now-
month is meaningful, I suppose, or people like us who have multiple streaming services, the cord stackers, as it were, and maybe we want to save a little bit of money, but at least I'd be curious to see the numbers, because Netflix is a very data-driven organization.
Yes.
So maybe if they're what they're looking at is like people who are on the bubble, like Will, that maybe if they're thinking of canceling, well, instead of canceling, we'll just save you a few bucks a month. So it's still in your budget, and you can, keep all your other streaming services too. If you don't mind a few ads once in a while, and if you don't care so much about 720p, especially if you're consuming on a mobile device, it's a way to keep people in the family. Not to mention, perhaps introduce other people for whom $10 a month was just a little too much. Oh, $7, maybe they can, justify that.
But I think
that's my guess.
More it.
Yeah.
Is like people that don't have it, that'll dip their toe and then get so freaking annoyed with ads, they're going to upgrade.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, I want you all to picture watching Stranger Things, and you are in the middle of an epic, most beautifully shot,
running up that
composed show. The music, the scene, Max, the whole thing. And then let's break for commercial. Are you out of your mind? Are you out of your mind? Doesn't hit the same.
This happens all the time on YouTube, though. Like, I watch a lot of YouTube content.
Doesn't.
Well, not for great,
doesn't.
but
Pants.
it's just like the one thing you don't do when you go to Disneyland is bang.
Yeah, but that's like the YouTuber is placing that ad there.
Or just leaving it to YouTube to figure it out.
Or
right?
they're saying, or it's still toggled on and they're leaving it up to YouTube. But either way, that's like on the YouTube channel trying to earn revenue.
Yeah.
So that's a bit different than what Netflix is doing here. So that's why the only thing I can think is it's for the few people in the world that don't have Netflix yet and are going to dip their toe and get beyond frustrated with ads. Because it's not for us. It's not for people like my parents. They have TV. They have cable. So why would they be doing this with ads? Like, the whole point of a streamer is to watch what they want on demand when they want with no ads and use our account. So that's all I can think is that's who their little niche market is with this. It makes zero sense to me. And I can tell you right now, younger markets, like kids that are going away to university and all that kind of stuff, they're not paying for this. First of all, they're still on their family accounts, and they have even less of a tolerance for ads than we do.
And
so
now
I don't know.
They're going to be paying $3 or $3.50 a month to hang on to that sub account with their parents. One of the other wrinkles about the whole sub account thing is that Netflix is actually providing a runway for people to upgrade to their own full grown-up account and still retain all their watch history, their ratings and whatnot too. So like as you allude to regarding getting people into maybe the ad-supported tier if they've never done Netflix before, and then frustrating them with ads so that they upgrade. There's some customer journeys that are being provided for people going, either direction, route there, which are kind of interesting. So again, if it doesn't work out, I think Netflix will probably give it a year and then they may change course, again, given how data driven they are. But to your point, Tasia, about the interrupting of key scenes, what Netflix has said is that they're going to go and review all their content and find the best places. I'm sure there's going to be some AI in there, but they're going to, some TV shows are already built for commercial breaks, right? You can tell you get to the end of a natural scene, and sometimes there's like a mini fade to black, even if you're used to broadcast TV, and it's a little jarring almost when you see a broadcast show on streaming and you get that little fade. It's like, wait a second, is there a commercial coming? Oh no, it's going to the next scene. But you know what I mean, right? There's that little half beat of a pause. But so a lot of that stuff already has that encoded in their metadata. But for shows that were built for streaming only, they're going to go back and find places to put ads, and hopefully they won't be terrible places. So we have to like trust the overlords at Netflix to get that right. So interesting times ahead. Lots happening in the Netflix space. Now, Gray, again, I assume you still have Netflix, and anything jump out here? No one's commented on the gaming. Is anyone not interested in what's going on with the gaming?
I haven't even been able to bring myself to look at it. Again, I play one game and one game only, so it's really it's not for me.
I asked the wrong guy.
It's just like looking at like Apple Arcade that's thrown in with Apple One. How are they going to? Again, unless it's sort of a value add, but it looks like they're kind of doing a value removal here in a bunch of things. Their $18.99 for me is worth it. The fact that friends and family get to sort of get a knock-on effect with it, great. Am I already working on a home-hosted VPN solution so that they can look like they're coming from my IP? Yes. I will screw them out of those $6 for the $18.99 that I'm paying. Like, enough's enough, Looking at this right now, there has been some feature creep and scope creep across all of these streaming services with Netflix, with Disney. For example, She-Hulk is out. I haven't watched a single episode, and I'm going to bomb through it now because I didn't feel like keeping up with the Joneses on that one. And I've been able to avoid spoilers because, I guess.
Because no one cares.
Yeah.
I mean,
I enjoyed it, but a lot of people haven't.
Yeah, there's one little spoiler which is kind of fun, but it's a pretty obvious one that eventually emerges.
Yeah, I saw Daredevil in a yellow outfit. I'll get to it. It's fine.
What's the spoiler alert?
Is that not the spoiler? Is there something else?
Maybe. Tasia, I hope you didn't hear that.
I probably won't watch it.
She-Hulk Attorney at Law. It's fun. It's better than expected, but a lot of people still hate on it because
so
too bad the CG is terrible. But anyway, go on.
Yeah. In any case, like looking at all of this, I'm still paying less to watch the things I want to watch when I want to watch them with no commercials by more than half. This is still way better than television. But man, Tasia, are you right? It's starting to smell like TV executives everywhere.
Yes.
And I've kind of like it's one of those things where canceling cable is a pain in the ass. Canceling these folks, dead easy. I can cancel you and start you back up in a minute, and I will.
The other thing that we've gone through, I appreciate the enthusiasm there, Gray. But the other thing that I think I've said in the past and we've kind of talked about, which is, for me, it's that I don't watch Netflix as much as some things like Disney Plus or like some of the other Amazon Prime or some of the other things that I watch. And I have like 4 streaming services. Like it's getting a bit ridiculous, like Apple and all these things. So just for me, that's where Netflix is starting to lose out to some of these other ones like Apple, especially Apple and Disney Plus, where it just doesn't make sense for me to keep it. So it is becoming a little bit TV. Like I need to buy this package to get sports and this package to get, movie channel and this package. So for me, it's just where Netflix is becoming a little bit more like the expendable one of those services. But everyone's taste is different.
And I think we've mentioned it before. If people are concerned about their monthly costs creeping up, and because it can creep up on you, and it's good to go and look at your credit card bills once in a while and say, like, wait a sec, how many monthly charges do I have? And some banks will actually segregate them for you and show you all your subscriptions you're paying for. Especially as we get into these uncertain economic times, even more so. We thought we were past them, but thanks geopolitics and stimulus and economies and whatnot. So and interest rates and all those things. So I get it if people want to save some money, but don't, again, we've said it before, but don't forget, you can always put certain services on pause for a few months and they'll keep your watch histories if that's important to you and your ratings if that's important to you and your lists and so on. So if you still want to have a little bit of light in these sometimes dark times, especially as we get into winter and it's literally dark. You can save a little bit of money here and there. Go and binge on Netflix for a bit and then put it on pause. Go and binge on Crave for a bit if you're in Canada, or on say Hulu or HBO Max in the US. There's Prime. It's hard for a lot of us to cancel or to pause Prime because of the 2-day shipping, and so that's how Jeff Bezos gets you.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's good to like cycle through them like that. But if you're watching stuff everywhere simultaneously, then it's a little trickier.
Everything everywhere all at once.
Yeah,
Exactly.
great movie.
Okay, so let's just one little thing that we've pushed off a bit. I'm just going to throw to Will really quickly on this. There's being our momentous Disney correspondent. A couple of weeks ago, there was an announcement from Disney that a number of items in their MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 6, was being pushed off to 2025, including Blade, Deadpool 3, or some 24 and 25, Fantastic Four, and Avengers Secret War, after a major reshuffle. Will, what is your, some of the other announcements they made? We'd seen about Hugh Jackman appearing in the next Deadpool movie and the like, but some of these things are getting pushed to 24, 25, 26. What's your take? What's going on at Marvel and Disney right now?
Well, they actually made a bit of a joke of it in, I'm not going to ruin things, but in She-Hulk, they made some reference to this. They're actually having some problems with the VFX staff and having people do VFX. That's one of the issues. I think the other thing is, look, we don't know all the mechanisms here, and some of it might be various pandemic things as well, and VFX staff and all this kind of stuff. But if they feel that they should push it off rather than try to meet their date, I would rather them push it off and produce a quality product. I mean, this is one of my criticisms. I don't want to open up a can of worms here, but the last Star Wars movie, The Rise of Skywalker, I think, they changed directors. They still wanted to make their Christmas date. Push it off, guys. Like, don't just try to make your date so that you can make Christmas, right? Like, try to do some quality. So I hope what we're looking here, I'm disappointed that they're not coming out sooner, but if you feel you need more time to do the right VFX, to do the right movie that needs to be told, please do it. So that's just my feeling on it.
Yeah, there's just the whole question of like, revenue projections, forecasting, keeping shareholders happy, and then also schedules for talent, as well as, you mentioned VFX for those keeping score at home, that being visual effects. So that's a huge industry and very, very volatile industry. There are so many places that go broke trying to serve giant movie studio clients because it's just the timelines are crazy and the staffing is, like you mentioned, so crazy. So I get it. Like with Rise of Skywalker, push it to Memorial Day, get it right, or But sometimes they're under the gun for financial reasons here. Gray, anything to add to this before we wrap up here?
No.
Yeah, indifferent. We've got Wakanda Forever coming soon. We got Black Adam, which is DC, is opening this weekend.
You guys said it all, right? Like, I don't want to watch crap, and I think it was Miyamoto who said, a bad game, a rushed game, a bad game is forever, right?
Yeah.
Whereas a delayed game can be good. This, if you rush it and it sucks, and you had the opportunity to make something good, as a creator, as an auteur, it would be very frustrating. So, here's the other thing, is realistically speaking, for all of those out there who are on the edge of caring about climate change, this could be the thing that gets them to actually take action, because they're not going to live long enough for these things to come out.
Ruh-roh.
Ruh-roh.
All right. Speaking of things that are good, hopefully, depending on your perspective and how much Google is sending you for free, picks of the week, starting with none other than Tasia. What's your pick of the week, Tasia?
My pick of the week is this. Her name is Google Pixel 7 Pro, and she's so sexy. She's mine. So Thursday, I have my full camera review and features coming out on YouTube. It's already scheduled, ready to go. It was a beast. It's over 18 minutes long. And, but I had so much fun. And I will just say, as a little tease to you guys, because like, you know how much I love the 6 Pro, and that was my go-to camera. I don't know if it's Tensor G2 or what is going on, but like the processing power on night sight and also on their portrait mode is like next level with 7 Pro. It's insane. And so I took some really, really good shots on portrait mode and on night sight and wide angle, you know, all the stuff I love. But yeah, so I have that for review coming Thursday.
Cool. So not to spoil what's going to be in your review, but for someone who may already have, say, the 6 Pro and the fabulous camera system that had, and I assume other features in the phone as well, what is the main thing that might get someone to do the rare year-over-year upgrade, or is it something like, oh, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 years before you need to upgrade to a 7?
In terms of accessibility, the guided frame is a massive upgrade. It's for people that are blind or with low vision so that they can take selfies. And the biggest thing is photo on blur. So it's so next level. Like I did it and literally fell to my knees. Like I was just like, what? Oh! I showed Brett and I was like, what? So it was one of those things where it's insane. If those 2 features didn't exist, I would say no, the year-over-year upgrade, you know, like the 6 Pro is so good that it wouldn't, you know, like macro's good and all, but it wouldn't be enough to upgrade. You know what I mean? Like the super res zoom to 30 times really isn't that clear once you get to 30 times zoom. So like it's not that good of to upgrade. But photo on blur and guided frame are very cool.
And so people can see more on those features specifically in your video that drops on Thursday, correct?
Correct. YouTube.com/@Tasia Custodi, because we have handles on YouTube now.
Wow. Looking forward to it. One thing I find a little strange, and I guess this is just testament to Google really being a cloud-first company, is that the Pixel 7 Pro is available only in 128 and 256 gigabyte tiers for $11.79 and $13.09 Canadian, respectively. Hazel, Snow, and Obsidian in color, which are very pretty. But wow,
this is the snow.
Yeah, but if you want to, you've got the snow, right? So yeah, if you want more than 256 gigabytes, you're in the Android world. You're going to be looking at a Samsung. Interesting choice. Cloud first, Google. All right, who's next? The pick of the week. William.
Hi. How are you?
Well.
So this is just in time for sports ball playoff season. This is a documentary I watched recently. I love sports docs. I like docs in general about entertainment and music and movies. I didn't know much about this time period. This is the 70s.
And it's called Yankees, Dodgers, and Uncivil War for those in audio only. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
So Yankees, Dodgers, an Uncivil War. And it's a really entertaining watch. It's some documentaries just aren't that good, or the personalities aren't all that compelling. This is really quite an interesting documentary. I recommend it. It's not groundbreaking or anything, but if you're a baseball fan, this would be right up your alley. And I found it an enjoyable watch.
But so the Yankees and the Dodgers, for those who are not familiar, the Yankees obviously have been in New York forever, but the Dodgers have moved around a little bit. Has the nature of their rivalry changed as the Dodgers
I'm not going to spoil it for you. The whole setup, it talks about that and about the nature of the rivalry and about the history of both clubs. And so it's specifically about the 77 and 78 World Series where they faced each other in back-to-back World Series. But it also goes to the core of New York as a city, LA as a city, and the origins of the teams and how they relate to the places.
All right. And that is, so it's ESPN Films in the US. Where can we watch that in Canada? Where are you watching it?
I watched it on the TSN.
Okay. The Sports Network. in
The Sports
Canada.
Network, Toronto Sports Network.
All right. Ooh, shots fired.
Shots fired.
Gotcha. All right, Gray, how about you? What's your pick of the week?
I've got Werewolf by Night, and so this is it's a Marvel film that takes place in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It has this beautiful 1930s Lon Chaney, Bela Lugosi style aesthetic, and it is the story of a werewolf superhero who does right by society in a very, very cool setting. It's 54 minutes, not very long. There are some interesting Marvel cameos here from the comic books and beyond. So yeah, really, really quite neat. We watched it yesterday, absolutely adored it. Yeah, looking at Marvel's upcoming Phase 6, if they can keep doing cool little things like this in the interim, it won't feel like there's a wait. This came out of nowhere, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I'd heard the title, but didn't even realize it was in the MCU. So I've been asleep at the switch here. That looks intriguing.
Incidentally, the fella there with the axe, his name is Kirk. Give me just a second here. Kirk Thatcher. And you might remember Kirk Thatcher from Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, as the punk on the bus.
Oh, wow.
He appeared in Star Trek Picard, and also has appeared in Spider-Man Homecoming. So,
amazing.
Yeah, he's amazing. The whole cast is great. Gail Garcia Bernal, fantastic. Laura Donnelly, amazing. Like, it's weird, and I love it. And I think you should watch it.
It sounds like perfect Halloween time viewing.
Yeah.
Very quickly, my pick of the week. Well, as you may recall, last week I was broadcasting from an undisclosed location, but I'm going to partially dox myself because one evening, Stephanie and I enjoyed a really nice dinner at a place that was recommended by my baby sister. It's called the North Fork Brewery, Pizzeria, and Beer Shrine. And it's in the general vicinity of Mount Baker on the road toward Bellingham. And they have fantastic pizza for those who drink beer. They've got a brewery and a selection of beers, but and a number of other dishes, food dishes, of course. But the thing that put it over the top for me is that like a very few number of breweries, they actually brew their own root beer. So
Nice. Yes.
So that's like just special place in my heart for places like that remember that not everyone likes actual beer, and some of us like root beer because we're children. And so North Fork Brewery, Pizzeria, and Beer Shrine, and that is in the northwest of Washington. Let's call it between Mount Baker and Bellingham. If you ever find yourself in that area, if you're doing any skiing on Mount Baker, or you're at any of the recreational campgrounds in the area, or Silver Lake and whatnot, this is just a short drive away. And really, it's in the middle of nowhere. Like, it's this amazing little spot. And they survived COVID, which is good. They had to lay off a bunch of people to get through it, and then they hired people back. And they just upgraded their POS system, but it doesn't do tap. So working on that. Oh no, it did do tap. It took a couple times. It's a weird thing. Like, they didn't want to do the chip and pin, because like a lot of people still don't have chip and pin in the States. So, but that aside, fantastic pizza, decent salad, and like root beer in addition to grown up beer.
Nice.
And last up, we've got projects. Will has a little project for us.
Yeah. So I teamed with a couple of Looper friends of mine who I have been talking to online for a while, and they're really cool guys. So Oberon the Ghost and Sir Skulls, and we did a project. It sounds weirder coming out of my mouth than it does when I read it. I
love the artwork with it. You've integrated their like kind of.
Well, I didn't do the artwork.
Okay.
This was Mr. the Ghost. But I do like the artwork, and
integrated all three of your sort of avatars or logos together there.
Yeah,
Very
that was his goal, and it's called Style Bender or Style Benders, and it's available on the usual platforms, so Table Beats and Tableist.net.
Very cool. And Gray, no distinct projects from you this week, I believe. I didn't see.
I do have one thing I'm actually working on.
Okay.
Which is in October of 2012, October 24th precisely, I kickstarted an RPG from Paizo, people who make Pathfinder. Today, they shipped the physical reward to the place I was living 10 years ago.
Oh,
Wow.
No.
fail sauce.
Yeah. Apparently, people on Reddit believe that it was my fault and I should have checked in on the 10-year-old Kickstarter reward that I had completely forgotten that they hadn't sent me. So I've called them on Twitter and put them on blast a little bit on Reddit just to see, is anyone actually there at Paizo? Are they all asleep at the wheel? Is it helmed entirely by the risen dead? Could be. It's Pathfinder. You don't know. So that's my project for the week. Figure out what's going on there.
You kickstarted that, so yeah, you can count that as a project, and maybe in a future episode it'll be your actual pick of the week, and you can tell us what it actually is and does and how it performs.
Probably not, but we'll try.
Okay. This would have been great 10 years ago.
Amazing. This stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, that. Huh.
And Tasia, you've got, of course, yet another video for us. You are a YouTube video machine, and we love you. What is your video that came out last week that will take us until Thursday's new video?
Yes, last week's were some tips on how to save time in Google Drive. So you can head to youtube.com/@TasiaCustody, and you can watch that / hit that bell reminder so that you know when I post a new video.
There we go. Call to action.
Which is every Thursday.
Smash that bell.
Exactly.
Smash
okay.
all the buttons.
Okay. One. Okay. So save time in Google Drive. You're focusing on keyboard shortcuts. What's one? One teaser to encourage people to go and check out the full thing. What's one quickie?
Oh, well, okay. You can quickly change your view. So like I like to do the grid view, but if you want to do list view, you just have to hit the V key.
Oh, that's handy.
And you can just bing,
that's really handy.
Bing, and you can just like toggle back and forth. I know.
I'm going to do that right now.
Ding, ding.
As long as you're not editing a cell currently, I guess is the key, right? Because
why move your mouse? Yeah, when you're in my drive, like in the dashboard of my drive, and you want to switch from like grid to list. It's like boom. V-key.
Oh, it's so fast.
Amazing.
All right. Why move your mouse? Why use another hand? I'm here for all of your needs.
I'm just going to see if you need views for a while. It's good.
And so we can find your work, as you mentioned, at youtube.com/TasiaCustody, and of course, www.tasiacustody.com. And look at I hit the wrong thing, and there it is.
There it is.
Great, set that up a while ago. But if you want to find out more about us at Momentous, go to MomentousTV/links. It's great having the band back together. Tasia, Gray, Will, love your work. We hope your week is truly momentous.